Hi, sixth grade English. This is Miss Fain. I know some of you guys don't usually see me for English. I only teach one English class in general. So, hi. I just want to talk to you guys about conclusions, and I'm going to kind of just go through our slides to talk about them. But I want to really say, like, with your conclusion, you really need to make sure, I call it the mic drop of your essay, because you really are trying to wrap up everything you talked about, tie in the lessons you learned and that other people can learn, and just really reiterate what you were saying. And so you really want to go out strong. The good thing about our conclusions is it's very much like kind of like a math formula. We have it very scripted to where you just have to like plug in that information. So if you follow that formula and get in that habit, it makes it a lot easier to write your conclusions. So I'm just going to kind of go through. So this week on your assignment, your teacher put in Google Classroom, kind of like with the introductions, same writing prompts, but you're going to write 2 conclusions. So I know we only wrote the body paragraphs for one of our essays, but we want you to practice the conclusion. So I want you to make sure you write both conclusions. You need to write both of them just to practice how to write a strong conclusion. So your teacher should have put that in Google Classroom on Monday for you to work on, and to work on the first one. And so I really want you to make sure that you go back after you watch this video and fix and tweak anything you might need to. So the first thing you need to make sure you have in there is you want to restate that universal statement that you did in the introduction. I like to tweak it a little bit. You don't want to sound so repetitive to where you're saying the exact same thing in your introduction as your conclusion. So I put down here, if you look, for the example introduction, it says, have you ever been embarrassed so badly you wanted to crawl into a hole? In life, everybody has embarrassing moments. So that was your introduction. I tweaked it a little bit to where I said kind of the same thing, but it's worded a little different. And I put, have you ever had a moment you were so embarrassed you wanted to just disappear? Embarrassing moments happen to everyone. And so it's very similar, but again, it's different. So it's not so repetitive. You don't want to sound repetitive and it gets kind of boring. So that's kind of the first thing you want to do is restate that universal statement from the introduction, but kind of tweak it just a little bit. So then the next thing you're going to add, the next sentence is going to be that formula of as you reflect back on in your specific moment. So if it's like the person you admired or whatever, you were talking about a certain moment with them. Our example that I'm running with is the embarrassing moment. And so I pretended like my embarrassing moment was like I ripped my pants in class. That actually did happen to me once in high school. It was super embarrassing during a speech. So that's why I went with that. But it's just this fill in the blank formula. So the next sentence is just going to be, as I reflect back on when I ripped my pants in class, comma, I learned a valuable lesson. So you have the specific moment and then the adjective for the lesson. This is a way to add in a jazzy vocab word. You can find some good jazzy vocab words to add in what kind of lesson. You don't want to just say, I learned an important lesson. That gets boring. You want to be a little bit jazzier than that. So that's the next sentence you're going to have in your conclusion. Then you're going to talk about the specific lesson you learned. So there's two types of lessons. So you have the lesson that you learned, and then the lesson that if any other reader were to read your essay, what lesson could they take away? So every time you read a story, a book, you have the theme or the lesson that you take away as a reader. Same thing with your essay. You want somebody to take away a lesson from your moment, right? So this first one is what you specifically learned. So when I ripped my pants in class, I had one of my best friends with me, and I didn't know I ripped my pants, and I was about to get up and give a speech. And as I stood up in front of her, like from my seat and started to walk up, she jumped up and like pretended to give me a hug and like whispered in my ear, like, hey, you ripped your pants, and gave me her jacket to tie around my waist before I could get like super embarrassed because only a couple people saw, not the entire class. And so my lesson that I learned is that I learned that I have amazing friends who will help me. Some people, you have those friends that you have something in your teeth and they just sit there and stare at you and they don't tell you. And then you have those good friends that are like, dude, you got something in your teeth. So there's a difference in friends, let me just tell you. So this is the moment where you learned or took something away from the moment. So I learned that I had amazing friends. Like I knew I had good friends, but that's when I was like, whoa, I have amazing friends who are going to be there to help me when I need them. So then the next sentence you're going to do is that universal theme. So that's where, what does somebody else take away? So what lesson can another reader take away? So I put, that by reading my essay about my friend helping me, that the universal statement would be, our universal lesson would be, I learned that good friendships are important to have in life. So like I said, you can have friends, right? That everybody has like acquaintances or friends that are like, hey, how are you? Might sit with you at lunch. But then you have those friends who are going to be there for you and have your back, and no matter what. So I learned, other readers can learn from mine that good friendships are important to have and to really know what a good friendship is. And so I'm actually going to put, I learned that good friendships are important to have. And I might even go back and add in a little bit more about with that too. So you can add more to that if you want to. And then the next sentence, actually the next two sentences. Okay, so you learned a lesson and other people have learned a lesson. How are you going to apply that to your life? So you don't just learn a lesson and then be like, I don't care, I'm going to forget about it, right? So it's like, okay, I learned this lesson, now what? Now what am I going to do about it? You have to apply that to your life. That's the whole point of a lesson, right? So I learned that my friends are really good to me and they're there for me. So I also, in my future, I'm going to make sure I'm going to be there for them. So my sentence example was, in the future, comma, make sure you have those commas. In the future, comma, I will make sure to look out for my friends and help them when they need it. I will make sure to appreciate my friends all the time. So in any moment that I have with my friends, I want them to know that I am there for them. I appreciate them, because that's how you form that two-way friendship. Friendship's two-way, right? So that's my example of, in the future, there's two sentences, right? Two sentences, and how I'm applying the lesson I learned about my friends to my future and to my life. And then the last thing we're going to add is, I want you to include one jazzy word and a complex or compound sentence. So your jazzy word, that's a good time to add in whenever it says that adjective you have to add in. That's a good jazzy word. You should be having jazzy writing all the time. So we want some jazzy words in there, some good words. And then at least one of your sentences needs to be complex or a compound sentence. So make sure that you go back and have that, and also highlight everything like we do. Everything's color coded. So that is basically your conclusion. Again, you just want to make sure, I'm going to go to the actual page right here. Sometimes it takes a second. You want to make sure this is your mic drop. This is your moment to share your lessons you learned, lessons other people can learn, ways you're going to apply it to your future. It's very much like a math formula where you can just like plug in each of these sentences. So if you follow this order, it's not going to be, shouldn't be too hard for you. So again, just to kind of review, you want to restate your universal statement, change it up a bit. You don't want to be so repetitive, it's boring. Then you're going to go back and talk about, as you reflect back on that specific moment, and then your adjective, use some jazzy words. Then you're going to talk about the lesson you learned. Then you're going to talk about the lesson other people will learn from reading your essay. Then you're going to have two sentences that's going to say how I'm applying the lessons I learned in this to my future. And then the very last thing is make sure you have at least one jazzy word and a complex or compound sentence in there. So make sure you add that and really push yourself, right? Push yourself to do a really good job with these conclusions. Again, if you have any questions with anything, you can email any of us teachers. We're here to help you. I hope that was pretty straightforward for you guys. And you enjoyed my embarrassing story about ripping my pants. It was awful. And ever since then, I'm terrified of that happening again. So anyway, so you guys have a good week. If you need anything, let us know. And don't forget, we have a Google Meet on Thursday at 10 o'clock where I will talk to you guys about conclusions, see if you guys have questions, and go from there. So go back today, work on and tweak anything from yesterday's. Tomorrow, you're going to do your second conclusion. Thursday, our Google Meet. And Friday is just going to be kind of your catch-up day to finish everything up. So if you need anything, let us know. Otherwise, have a great day. See you guys on Thursday.